Hi everyone! Today we're going to do a book recommendation list inspired by Halloween. We do also happen to be film buffs, so a lot of these are book and or movie recommendations. We are tending to kind of say, this is also a movie, the movie's really good, you should watch it, or the movie's kind of crummy, don't watch it, things like that.
Generally speaking, it's always good to read it and then watch it, in my opinion.
I agree. Usually the movie, I don't know, the book goes more in depth with things, whereas the movie stays on the surface, so I like to do both. The first thing we're going to look at is Daphne du Maurier's Don't Look Now. I am reading this for this Halloween, and I'm not very far in, but it seems really good, just like the movie. The movie is incredible. It's is it Roeg?
It's Nicholas Roeg,
yes. Roeg is amazing as a director, and it's got Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland, and there's this incredible sex scene at the beginning where they get dressed and have sex intercut. It's beautiful. In film, when I was in film school, it was talked about a lot. It's quite an interesting and eerie film. I don't know if I'd say it's scary in like the horror way.
It's you know, there's a horror kind of climax, but overall it's just a sort of a moody kind of film.
Yeah.
It's just...
And I feel like the book is very, very similar. Like, the book has a similar feeling, and I mean, Daphne du Maurier, she's also the author of Rebecca. She has a very gothic approach to writing, and that it's very slow and unfolding, and I'm really, really enjoying it, so I would recommend it as a Halloween read for sure.
So, Daphne du Maurier, I would recommend The Birds. I haven't, only because I haven't read Don't Look Now, and because it's short stories, so good place to start. It's
also, if you don't have time to read a novel for Halloween, it's a good little like thing to get you in the mood for Halloween, but it's just a short story. Also, I mean, obviously, go watch The Birds by Hitchcock, because
classic. It's
amazing. So it's a good Halloween movie book kind of pairing that doesn't take a week to do.
No.
The next writer slash book film that I really, really recommend for Halloween, and I read this for Halloween last year, is Ira Levin's Rosemary's Baby. I love the book and I love the film for two completely different reasons. The book really goes more into the female protagonist's mind, and she's less weak and less, she fights back a little bit more than they depict her in the film. So I would definitely recommend that, and if you haven't seen the film, just watch it.
Of course, the best. Roman Polanski. I also chose Ira Levin. My choice was Stepford Wives, which I think we both read last Halloween.
Yep.
You were on an Ira Levin kick. You read Rosemary's Baby and then you read Stepford Wives.
And I yelled at him to read it, so...
And I did, and it was great. And I especially like the length. It's no secret that I prefer shorter novels.
It's nice because you can have like a Halloween read without it like taking over your whole week, so you can still read the other things you're reading, but have a little bit of Halloween fun in there.
I haven't seen the original film with, is it Catherine Ross?
I think so.
But the remake's a disaster, so read the book.
And watch the original. The original is really good. The next one is kind of horror for book lovers. It's Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. So this is one of my favorite books, and actually it's quite a great film by French New Wave filmmaker.
François Truffaut.
Yes, and it has, just like Don't Look Now, it has Julie Christie, and she plays a wonderful dual character. It's a little bit Stepford Wives, actually, her character.
No, it's not. You said it was the wife.
Yeah, the wife, yeah.
But Julie Christie isn't the wife.
She's both.
She played both?
She plays both.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the film.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I know my book.
Yes,
and I know
clearly.
The film. So this was one of my favorite books in high school. It still holds up. I read it every couple of years. And it's about a world where books are illegal. So to me, this is like the ultimate horror story.
Oh yeah.
And it's quite good, and it's not super hard to read. Like, there's not a lot of terminology. It's not one of those sci-fi dystopian books where they're like, and the people were zooming through the air and they had all these special equipments. It's
still very accessible.
It
it's
is.
A very recognizable world.
You know, they predict things like reality television and the world being on antidepressants and that whole kind of thing. And there's a few futuristic elements, but it is a very regular world. So I definitely recommend it. I'd recommend the film too. It's, especially if you haven't watched very many French films, it's a good introduction because it's British. So
I also chose a dystopian novel. My choice was A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. You spoke about how Fahrenheit 451, the language is a little less science fiction. A Clockwork Orange is challenging, wherein it's what's the word? Phonetic?
Yeah, it has its own. They have names for things to kind of reflect the class and culture of the time.
There's even a name, I think, for the language it's written in. I think it's called Nadsad.
Yeah,
it's still English, but it's heavily slang influenced.
Russell Brand actually uses a lot
He does.
It's
his kind of Cockney and kind of
and my
Russian.
bookie book that comes from
Clockwork
Orange.
It does.
It's pretty big. My dad does it too. Yeah.
Oh boy.
He's British and from England. So the next one I'm recommending is not very. I haven't read the book at all. The movie is kind of a fun Halloween pick. I hear that the book is more serious, and I think it actually will be quite interesting. And one of these Halloweens I'm going to read it, and that is John Updike's The Witches of Eastwick. So this is actually a book haul today, and another reason why I was excited to include it.
Oh yeah, I brought that today.
I really love elements of at least the film, which I know the book might not be anything like, but it does have this very like suburban class kind of thing going on in it, and kind of this ironic depiction of like suburban malaise that this group of three witches, which is Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon, kind of shake up this small town, and with Jack Nicholson.
Of course.
And so I do see that it would make quite a good book, and the ending is very strange of the film.
It's very obscure. I found it, I wouldn't say hard to follow. There's just, you're not quite sure what's happening insofar as special effects, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to read the ending that's not campy. As much as I love the camp of the films, I'm actually it explores a lot of really interesting issues of gender in the film, and I feel like the ending of that takes it to like a place where you just dismiss it, whereas I think the book might actually make some interesting points. So I think I will end up reading this probably next Halloween, but I wanted to put it out there as a great Halloween kind of feel.
I've got one book that represents two books, really. It's Invitation to a Beheading by Vladimir Nabokov. And I say it represents two books because I would also recommend The Trial by Franz Kafka. And the reason I pair those two is they both present a sort of existential exploration of if there's been a crime and it's not really clear what the crime is or what the punishment will be, but both of the accused are just in the position of uncertainty, and that's a very terrifying state, particularly as it's explored in both novels.
So, my next pick is a Canadian shout-out. Pontypool Changes Everything by Tony Burgess. This is a really great kind of zombie-esque kind of film.
Yeah, it's not quite a zombie film.
It's a little bit more like The Walking Dead in that it's more about kind of what happens to the people who are trapped, and as they know it's coming for them, what they do. It doesn't have exactly the same setting that the movie does.
The entire film is set in a radio station or broadcast station.
It's almost like the film is like telling you to go read the book, because if you want more, you're gonna get more in the book.
Yeah.
It's a zombie film in which
they're not dead. They're not the undead. It's a virus.
It's a word virus. So it's like it's a zombie film for nerds.
And that idea comes from the films and the book's exploration of language comes from William S. Burroughs, I understand.
And it's quite good. I have started reading the actual book, and it's like the film is like a little taste of the book, because you only get one setting.
It's only the radio station.
Yeah, right? And the book has more going on in that sense. I hear that the ending is completely different in the book than the film, I think. So I'm looking forward to finishing it.
My last recommendation, and it really comes from both of us, because
it's one of my favorite books also.
It's one of my favorite books and one of my favorite horror books. Loosely a horror book. It's Perfume by Patrick Süskind. And the reason I chose it, I suppose, is just the atmosphere of it. And actually, this is the only book in which I had to stop reading because what was happening was so gory that I actually couldn't stomach to continue reading. And it wasn't even one of the murders. It was the opening of the book, which is set, I believe, in a fish market.
Oh, and he's describing the smells.
It's such I mean, the whole book is it's visceral.
Yeah.
But that in particular, I was just nauseated. I couldn't continue. Wow. Absolutely. Don't
see the film. This is not one of those books and films. Don't watch it. It will spoil the book for you.
Stick to the book.
The book is so unique and different.
Oh, yeah.
And wonderful. The way that the book unfolds, it just goes such crazy places. Like, it really does go insane places. So you want to read this. I don't want to give away any spoilers.
No.
Even though I love to do that.
Yes, you do.
So, out of all the books here, this is my, like, big Halloween...
The top recommendation.
Yeah, the top, right? It's number one.
Absolutely. No.
So that's it for our Halloween Spookathon book recommendations. We are still kind of learning this booktube thing.
Still learning the ropes.
It's been really awesome to hear all your feedback and all the kind words. Everyone out there is so nice. Please keep giving us more because we're noobs and we're trying to learn. So until next time.